Welcome everybody to a new episode of Be Xorbitant, which means in German, sei exorbitant, because this is a German podcast. This is a podcast about winning mentality. This is a podcast about tough love mentality. Yes, it's about personal development, and it's also about champions mindset. What means champions mindset in all areas of life. And today I have a entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur in my show. And as always, before we started, I want to say this: if you get any value out of this episode, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the subscribe button and bring me a new listener. And yeah, I will be very grateful if you do this for me, because we want to try, or we want to give out as much worthful words and impact as we can. And with it being said, I'm so super pumped today, and I'm super excited to have him here. This is Tony Whatley. Welcome, Tony. Welcome to my show.
Coach Marco, thank you for having me on. You mentioned two things I really love: winning and tough love. I think you've seen me online. That's one of the things I love to do, is
100%.
give people the blunt truth and just try to be honest with them. That's what we need, is more transparency in this world.
100%. And I see you the first time in St. Louis when we were on the Arete Syndicate live. Yeah, I was there. And I saw you speaking there. After that, you started your podcast. But I want to steal you the word, because I always ask the first question. The first question, as always, is: who the fuck is Tony Whatley?
Who the fuck am I? Well, you know what? Most people answer that question, Marco, by telling the occupation or the job that they have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that. I'll tell people that I'm an adrenaline junkie who grew up with two hardworking parents, and I probably used to want to be a stunt man as a kid and a little bit of a teacher at the same time. And when you start looking back at the history of my life, I was always that kid that would learn new tricks on a skateboard or a BMX bike, and I'd be excited and I would master those things, and I couldn't wait to teach my friends to do that. So that led to corporate levels and also entrepreneurship. So inside, I'm a teacher, but I love the adrenaline rush and just taking risks. And I race cars, and I drive over 200 miles per hour. I don't know what that kilometer is for you, but 200 miles plus, cars I've built. And that's just really who I am. Is I'm always looking for the adventure.
Yeah. And your adventure is to be an entrepreneur from the heart, right?
Absolutely,
100%. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. But first of all, guys, he is the author. I want to brag a little bit with you. He's the author of the book Side Hustle Millionaire. When you're looking at at YouTube, I show it in the camera. So this is the book, and let's talk a little bit about that, because it's how to build a side business that creates financial freedom. And I think this is more and more important in the world, to get financial freedom, of course, but also I'm a passionate entrepreneur, because I think it's important, because I think, as you think too, I think it's we will change the world as an entrepreneur, and we have to change the world as an entrepreneur. And I think that is the reason why we are in the Arete Syndicate, of course. But let's talk about the book. Give us a quick view inside the book.
There's some good stories around that book. So Side Hustle Millionaire, for high level understanding, is what you do when you have a bunch of ideas for businesses. Because most people have ideas that they want to create a business. We meet these people at work. We meet these people in our circle of friends. And they're always telling you, like, I got this great idea. But a lot of times they don't know how to assess those ideas to see if they're an actually good business to create. They may have an idea that will never make them money, or never be able to scale and sell and exit. And maybe they have some ideas that just consume too much of their time for too little pay. So what I did is I started thinking about this book. How am I going to get entry-level entrepreneurs to get these ideas out of their head and compare those ideas against each other to find the one that's going to give you the best odds of success? And then it kind of goes through the entire hand-holding process of, here's how you create the idea, here's how you proof it, here's how you do the marketing, Here's how you define your customer. Here's how you set up your website. So really it's a book for someone that's got ideas that wants to start their first business. Or if you've started a business, I would say it's ideally for the people who have a business that hasn't really made any money, and maybe they want to get to the first 7 figures revenue level. So 0 to 1 million, that book is perfect for those people.
Regular, I don't like the word blueprint, but this, when I read it or I read it, it's a blueprint. It's because there are things like what I liked the most was the risk analysis, because this is so fucking awesome. Because most people, when they overcome their doubts and they start it, then comes the problem and they think, oh man, how can I deal with this? And this is so awesome. Can you talk about the risk analysis a little bit?
Yeah, there's a lot of different risks a lot of people don't really think about. I think I benefited from 20 years in project management. So I used to work for corporate oil companies, and we got really good at measuring and monitoring and mitigating risk. And you have to think about all the things that are going to cause you to fail ahead of time. And you have to think about what are the systems or processes or things that I need to create to prevent those failures from occurring or minimize the risk of doing that. You find a lot of new business owners, especially the ones that have already started, that never thought about the future. They don't think about these kind of things that can create a failure down the line. So one of the examples would be maybe naming your company something that would create a false ceiling of scalability. Maybe you name it something regional, or you name it your name. That's one thing I always try to go against, because I like to build companies that are much bigger than myself. So why would I name it Tony Whatley LLC? I want it to be bigger, something that I may be able to exit out of and be able to sell that to somebody else. So there's a lot of things you got to think about when you're starting a business. You may even think about online versus in-person type brick and mortar is what we call that in the States. Physical location versus digital businesses. Maybe that physical location is good right now, but it might not be good in 5 years. Maybe you'll get beat by somebody like Amazon or somebody that's taken over on a digital platform. So you got to think further enough ahead to be able to think about what is the longevity of this company? What is the brand that this can grow into? Another thing we talk about is regional naming of our companies. I'm in Texas. If I would have just called my company Houston Business Coaching, that severely creates a limitation that doesn't need to exist, because I've got clients all over the world. So why would I name it Houston Business Coaching?
Right.
And when you start to think about that, even my podcast, 365 Driven, what if I would have called that Houston Entrepreneurs Podcast? It doesn't have the ability to scale beyond the regional name that you've given it. So a lot of people don't think about this stuff, and they think about small time businesses, the things that you and I grew up watching, where business meant you had a building on Main Street and it had your name on the front, and everybody in that town went and shopped from you, and they thought like, that's my idea of a business. I used to think the same way. But then you start thinking about, if you carry a cell phone around, the entire world is your customer base now. So you need to create these things that are not going to create limitations in your business or your potential now.
Hey, you talk about the exit strategy, and I think this is most important for every person outside. Even I come from the sports world. So let's say I come from the mixed martial arts sport. So what I see is, most of the time, very popular fighters or very successful fighters, they don't create an exit strategy. Do you think every person should have one? Or do you think it depends on what is your master plan? What is your end result? What is your idea of how far will you go?
So the honest truth, we'll get into some data here. Looking around the latest numbers, it seems about 90% of the businesses out there, 90% of the existing businesses aren't worth anything to a buyer. So when we start thinking about exit strategy, maybe trying to sell your company later, a lot of times the sale of a company comes as a reaction to something that happens in your life. Maybe you're a business owner and you work 40 years in your business and you get sick, or maybe someone dies, a partner dies, or divorce happens, or there's always just something that externally tends to happen, or maybe your industry just starts to dry up and you go, okay, I need to sell this company. I need to get out of this. I need to retire, whatever it is that causes that you want to go exit that company. So then these people try to get on the market to sell their business. And it's heartbreaking because most of them realize that their company is not worth anything. And they thought that, hey, I'm a business owner, I'm going to be able to sell my company someday. But the thing is, they weren't planning far enough in advance to understand that there's a strategy to maximize the valuation of the things that you're trying to create. So you need to have an exit strategy if that's your intention. But if you're building something that you just want to build a legacy type brand, maybe you're building a nonprofit. Maybe you want to do some charitable organization that you never plan on selling, and it's going to be passed down through generations of your family. You know what? You may not have an exit strategy. You just may have a legacy strategy where you're learning to teach people to have a succession plan to be able to get the next people in charge to go through that and have this legacy brand. Now, if you want to build something based on your own lifetime that you would like to exit, or maybe you would like to exit and go do something else at some point, you need to start thinking about these things. But here in the US, we typically do a snapshot of the last 3 years of financials. So when you decide you want to go sell your company, you really need to start planning about 5 years before you decide you're going to put it on the market, because those last 3 years, it's going to take you the first 2 years to transition to doing things properly, because the reinvestment strategy is different. A lot of times people pay themselves way too much as a business owner, and then they're not really they're hiding the profits to avoid paying taxes. We see this, almost every company does this. They'll spend the profits and go, we didn't make very much profit this year, because they don't want to pay taxes on that. They think that, hey, they have this money, I'm paying myself enough, I can go buy equipment, I can go hire more people, I can go buy more property, I can buy this machinery, I can buy this software, whatever. They're spending the money to hide profits. But that kills them on the valuation, because now they've got things on the back end that say, hey, you didn't make any profit the last 3 years. Like, your company's worth a lot less. So valuation is based on an EBITDA, your earnings before income taxes and amortization. But the thing is that those things required a profit to be a multiple. So most companies here in the United States, it's a multiple of 2 to 4 times your net profit, essentially. And if you're hiding the profit, your company's worth a lot less. So we have a tax structure here. We're paying about 30% of our taxes, 30% of our profit, just general. It has different ranges. But think about the simple math. If you avoid paying 30% tax for 3 years, you're really hurting yourself by that multiple 4 to 5 times a lot of times of that entire profit on the back end when you sell the company.
Yeah, exactly. And interesting is, that brings me to my next thing, your purpose. Because I think people don't know much about their purpose, because they don't think about their own purpose. And if you have a strong purpose, the decision what you want to do seems very easy. What do you think about that? What do you think about would you agree? Some people don't know their purpose on this even on this planet.
It's really sad how many people do not have a purpose or do not have a defined goal even for what they want to achieve in their lives or even in their families' lives. And for me, one of the biggest responses that most people will say when you ask them what their purpose is, they just say, Marco, I want to take care of my family. And they think that that's honorable. And I'm going to counter that, because somebody's listening to this, or you're going to listen to this, and they're going to think, well, I want to take care of my family. That is my purpose. I'm a parent. I got to take care of my kids and my wife, or I need to take care of my husband and my kids and my parents. Like, you know what? That's not your purpose. That's your duty. As a family member, that is your duty. That is your job. That is not your purpose. So what happens is, people that say that answer, what it really tells is you're hanging around with a bunch of average people with no aspirations and no goals in life. And they tell each other that same excuse back and forth, like they're playing tennis. Oh, I'm taking care of my family. Oh, cool. Me too. I'm just trying to take care of my family. Oh, cool. Me too. And they never go deeper. They never go deeper. They never look for the true purpose of why they exist here in this world. And you think about that, it's a very end of conversation response when you say to someone, hey, what is your purpose? And they go, man, I just want to take care of my family. And most people will go, oh, that's great. Me too. But when you ask someone that knows what purpose means, will go, oh, that's your job. Taking care of family is your job. That's your duty. What's your purpose? And now they're like, oh, wow, never been asked that before. Like, never even thought about that, because no one's ever challenged that.
And
So purpose is very important. And the number one purpose that most people use that's false is money. They see things like my book title, Side Hustle Millionaire, and they think, well, I want to be a millionaire. I want to make millions of dollars. They think that's a purpose. That's not a purpose either. Money is never a purpose. And if that is your purpose, it should never be a purpose, because it's likely not going to happen if that is your purpose. It's a weak purpose. Money is a result. Money is a score that's based on the value that you create in this world, or the amount of people that you impact or help in this world. So when your purpose is to go help other people by overcoming some kind of a challenge, providing a product or a service or some kind of a skill set that can help massive amount of people, that's when your purpose becomes bigger. What is the legacy that you're trying to build? What is the impact you're trying to create in this world so that you're remembered when you're gone? That's the strong type purposes. And when you go chase those kind of things and you do them extremely well and you put the work in, the money is a result.
And it's funny that you say that with the duty to take care of your family, because to be honest, when you say I take care of my family, that's my purpose, it's too small. It's too small for your potential. And this is what people don't recognize. And the next thing is, and this is for me, I see it the last month more clear, is they often pretend, because they say, hey, my kids come on the first place, but they are the first persons who have the smartphone in their hands, and they say, wait a minute, honey, I have no time yet because I'm on Instagram. So what about this? What about your family comes always in the first place? The word always. And this is brings me to the next point. The tough decisions you have to make to build up a brand, to build up a company, whatever it is. So what do you think, how to deal with those tough decisions? Not to deal, how to make those tough decisions I think is better.
I think the tough decisions generally have an answer that's going to either move you closer to your goal or further away from your goal. But I don't think that people fail from the tough decisions. The tough decisions are the things that we all see all the time, but we all know that they're the tough decision. It's usually the thing that you're procrastinating, or the thing that you're not putting effort into because you know the significance of that decision, and the resulting action could be an amazing outcome. Like, for example, writing a book could have a high significant value on something that you need to complete. So you're procrastinating it, knowing that it's a very important thing that you should probably be doing, but you also fear that potential really success. There's a fear of success as well. A lot of times people sabotage themselves and not do the things that they know they should be doing because they're not really betting on themselves. So going back to big decisions versus small decisions, I would argue that the small decisions on a daily basis are what cause most people to fail. Because the thing is that even the smallest decisions, maybe even the food that you put on the end of your fork of that meal, it's either going to give you the goal that you want or move you further away from the goal. So every single decision, the person you hanging out with, the job that you take, the exercise that you do, the book that you read, the podcast that you listen to, these are small decisions, but every single one of those small decisions is going to lead you closer to your goal or further away from your goal. There's no in-betweens. So when you start to really think about the small decisions on a daily basis, that's going to create a larger impact over time than these big decisions that come up once in a while.
Do you believe in passion?
Absolutely. My passion is cars and business. Those are the two things in my 47 years that I've decided that I'm very passionate about cars and I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. And that's really been the history of my entire life. So I try to build companies and do things within the things I'm passionate about.
I want to make it clear for the people, because sometimes people think passion is so you are passionate for something, they think you are always motivated. You're always, yeah, I love, I love that face. Yeah. Talk about that. What do you think about that?
Passion is the best way to understand is something that you have an interest in, a high level of interest in it. Okay. Now, the best way to think about that is if you go to a bookstore and you see a bunch of books and they're in different categories. What is the book or the magazine that you pick up that you read cover to cover before you even pay for it? That has a good indicator of something that a subject you may be passionate about. So when you work within your passionate subjects, you have more energy around those kind of things. You get out of bed and you look forward to doing those kind of things. It doesn't feel like a chore or a job because you enjoy being a part of that. So it's important to have that if you want to have energy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you talked about being motivated, motivation is temporary. Motivation is not required. Successful people do not need to feel motivated because we're driven by results. We want the outcome. We want the results. We know that all the other fucking weak people out there need motivational memes and they need to be like rah, rah, cheerleading, and they need that. And they're going to quit when they don't have that. People that win, people who become successful, we know they're going to quit. And we know that we don't need to be motivated. We know that we want that goal. We want that result. If that result is money or accolades or influence or whatever your goal is, that's what we're driven by. And we know that you have to step up and do the hard work on a daily basis to get that result. That's all we're focused on is a result. So example, you're into fitness, I'm into fitness. I would say half the time, I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like it, but I want the result. And so I'll sit here and I'll be like, I don't feel like going. And I'm like, well, Tony, quit being a bitch. You want the result? Get your ass off the couch, get your ass off the desk, go get the result, go work for it. Because I also know that whenever I leave the gym, Marco, I never regret having gone. In the history of me exercising since I was a teenager, I have never left the gym a single time saying, you know what, I wish I wouldn't have gone today.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
So when I know that, the negative self-talk that I might be feeling before I go, I understand that, you know what, I've never left the gym saying I regret going, so I'm going to go get that result.
Yeah. Would you agree that sometimes there is, let's say, the word passion and all the motivational stuff, that there is a kind of fairy tale about success, like romantic unicorn, whatever it is, I don't know, but people think when they start something, it's like the thing when you find something you love, then you never have to work again or whatever, or don't work hard or just work smart or whatever it is. And I don't believe in that. What do you think about that? What do you think?
I think that anytime you're changing something from your norm, whether that's fitness or starting a business or getting further education or something that's beyond your norm, okay, I think you're going to have to commit 12 to 24 months of solid work to get some kind of results that you really want to have. People tend to be impatient. They want results in 1 to 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's attention. Maybe you go launch a podcast or you go create some kind of a group and it's not getting the attention. Or maybe you go fire up and create a new Instagram account and you're not getting enough followers. People are impatient for the results. They go really hard for 1 to 2 months on average. We've all seen it. They get into a fitness thing. Hey guys, I'm on Facebook and I'm going to lose 30 pounds and I need you guys to hold me accountable. And 3 weeks later, you don't see them posted at all. And you're going, what happened to that person? Where'd they go? Because we know we as humans, we are skeptics. We see somebody really trying really hard at the beginning and we go, hey, that's awesome. Keep going. But we also know in the back of our mind that they're probably a quitter based on results of everyone else. Not saying that as an individual is a quitter, but we are skeptics across all humans. They're going to quit. They're not going to make it. We all know the 80-20 rule. We hear about that kind of stuff where 80% of the results are result from 20% of the inputs or the people doing the work. So we have odds in our head. Like, okay, is this guy really going to see this through? And you know what? The thing is we watch in silence for about 6 months. We'll initially do this. Everybody will get this initially. And then that kind of pumps them up and they go, you know what? Awesome. This is working. People are paying attention. They're watching my videos or listening to my podcast. They feel good about it. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, like nobody's like clicking like anymore. Nobody's commenting anymore. So the negative self-talk starts to get in your head, and they start thinking, I must be doing something wrong. I must not be any good at this. Why is nobody liking my post anymore? Why is nobody commenting my post? I just must not be good at this. So they quit. Y'all quit. You have to see it through. See it show up every single day for a year. Yeah. Create the content every single day as if nobody was watching, because you're passionate about it. And you know what? 6 to 8 months in, people will start doing this again. 12 months in, they're like commenting and thanking you. Hey, that really reached me. Like, keep your videos coming. You have to earn their attention. You have to prove that you're going to show up every day, and you have to show that your results are going to be there regardless of who's going to be watching or doing things or buying something from you. If you can do that for a year and show up every damn day, you deserve the results at that point. Most people never get it that far, and that's why they never become successful. They quit too soon at everything.
Sometimes I think, or not I think, sometimes I see that people come out, do something, whatever it is, and then they say, hey, why don't you support me? Why should I support you? Why should your parents support you? Why should your friends support you? Whatever it is, because what have you put on the table?
It's entitlement, man. They feel entitled to a response. Yeah. That's, you know what? But I'm glad people feel entitled, Marco. I'm glad that people quit too soon, because that makes it easier for me to win.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Let me come back to the end result, because you talk about the driven. What do you think about obsession?
I think obsession can be healthy and unhealthy. It's an addiction, just like anything else. Yeah. I think that sometimes we get obsessed on things, or maybe we call ourselves a perfectionist and we do things a little crazy and we go a little over the board. But the thing about business, when we look at obsession, business has levels of expectation that we should all think about. And, you know, when you have expectations from a customer point of view, when you're buying a product or quality of service, you have levels of expectation, right? That's what you should deliver. People will pay for the value that you're creating. Different levels of quality, I understand. But some people obsess over things, and they may not even start their company because they think, like, I need to know everything. I need to read 15 books. I need to hire 5 coaches. I need to watch all the podcasts. And they waste a lot of time obsessing over things, thinking that they need to know everything or all the answers before they even start. The best entrepreneurs just start. They're the daredevils, like I talked about me being. We just jump out there and go do something, get punched in the face a few times, like you and your octagon. We are used to just stepping up, learning something, applying it, getting punched in the face, learning from that, redirecting, evolving, improving, innovating, and going, and just you're basically learning in motion. That's what we need to be as entrepreneurs. The people who just think that they need to know everything, or they obsess over details and try to make it perfect, they're going to get left behind by someone that's just actually taking the action.
I think this is important what you say, because I think before you become obsessed with something, it's better to have the knowledge. It's better to have to know how to take action. It's to know your craft or whatever it is, and then you can be obsessed. Because I don't think people have to be obsessed like what you say. For example, to do everything, to know everything, because it makes things complicated. And I think as an entrepreneur, we have to make it simple. We have to take a clear look, then we make a plan. We're looking for solutions, don't look for problems, look for the solutions. And I think this is the most important thing. What do you think? How can people learn that? How can people, first of all, do you agree? And then what's your opinion about that?
I think it's funny because you mentioned seeing me speak on the stage in St. Louis. ABC, real simple. Action, belief, consistency. Action is always first. You got to take action. And then you start to see the differences, and you start to see the issues that may pop up, but the action has to start. So you have to go do something. belief is just believing in yourself and believing in what's possible and seeing the results from that action and believing it even more. And you start to gain more confidence. You start to get better at what you do. You start to get a better belief. And it's also starts to widespread. Other people start to believe in you because of the actions you're taking and the results you're creating.
Mm.
Consistency is just what we talked about earlier. It's just showing up every damn day. It's really simple. Most people think they're consistent because that's a fundamental word, but they're not consistent. They take days off. They take weekends off. They screw around. They get distracted. They don't do the things that are creating the action. So ABC is real simple to think about, but I think that you're right. You have to be in motion. You have to take actions and you have to learn and you have to improve, but don't be afraid of that. That's the process.
And sometimes people act or put action in it, and it depends on how they feel. And I see it all the time, even in my clients, when they say, "Oh man, I cannot come today because I don't feel." Oh man, I have weeks when I'm not feel. I didn't know when was the last time something don't hurt in my body or anything like that. So when we talk about that, so there's a part of when I say let's come from obsession more to, let's say, how do you feel? It's more like, what is your duty? What have you to do? And most of the time, or sometimes, people forget their end result. And when they forget their end result, then they make decisions on how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Most people basically live their life as a routine. They get up based on an alarm clock. They get dressed. They go to their job. They get home. They eat their dinner. They watch their television, maybe play with the family a little bit, and then they go to bed. And they just got this repeat cycle. And the thing is they've fallen into complacency because whatever level of success that you're currently at, there was probably some kind of a hunger or desire to get to that point. And maybe you're actually achieving more than you thought that you would be able to achieve at your current state. And that's the danger zone. Okay. When you're living in complacency and you've got a comfortable life, you've lost that hunger. You've lost that drive. You've quit reading books. You haven't invested in yourself or your fitness or your family's well-being in several years. That's how most of the population lives. They get to a level of income that's comfortable for them, and then they just turn things off, and then fast forward 50 years and they're dead. That's just the life. That's just how it happens. And it's terrible to think about that. Your life can be so much more than that.
Oh yeah.
The potential that you have is endless, but you have to keep that desire and that hunger to be able to improve yourself, which is going to open you up for greater opportunities along the way. When you turn off your brain and you tell yourself that, hey, I'm good, I'm making enough income, my bills are paid, I've got good friends, but not great friends, I've got a good life, but not a great life, and you settle, that's going to turn your brain off, because when there's no longer any goals, then it's not ever looking for any opportunities out there for you. So if you think you're good and you're comfortable, opportunities are just going to go pass by you, and you're not even going to be aware of those things because you've already told your brain, hey, we're good, we're chill, just hang out here for a while. So when you start to think about long-term goals, which are always important, investing in yourself, your fitness, your mindset, your family, your business, your career, whatever that is, you're going to have your eyes open because your brain is focused on goals, and your brain is always working in the background like a computer, and it's always scanning the horizon of things that are coming, and it's always looking for more opportunities for you to get ahead because you gave it goals to focus on. So when you don't have any goals, and you don't have any passion or desire to improve or do things beyond where you're currently at, you're never going to see opportunities, and you're going to be that person that's shouting on Facebook or Instagram about how life is unfair and that your life is boring and you wish there was more to it and you wish you could do more, and you're just going to be the victim mindset. You're just going to be complacent, and you know what? Fast forward a few more decades and you'll be dead the same way.
And this is so interesting because when you go with open eyes, because you have goals, you always find momentum. And most of the people don't find momentum. And then came something in what they say it's luck. They always say when somebody has massive success or anything like that, it's most of the time that they say, "Oh, that was luck." No, that was no luck. That was what you say. It's like, I have my goals, I have my open eyes, and I see opportunities, but I use momentum.
This advice I have is to surround yourself with the people who can answer the challenges and questions for you. And then once you start to make the profit, you can afford to start hiring people to scale out your processes in your business. When you get to the level where you no longer care about what other people think about your goals, that is such a freeing experience. You're going to feel an ultimate amount of freedom.